Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa LaRue, and this is the third networking event of the SVRI Faith and GBV Community of Practice. You'll see every now and then I'm going to be a bit distracted where I'm allowing people into the room. So before I say anything else, I want to remind you that this whole session is being recorded, and that's very intentional. There are many COP members that just can't, attend these specific time slots, but they do want to hear more about the organizations that are presenting, but also just join and listen to the interaction afterwards. So all three events are being recorded, and later this week, I'll be sharing an email with all of the COP members that has the links to each of these networking events to the video recordings. So let me tell you a bit about what it's going to be like today. We have 4 speakers. I'll check if some of the other planned speakers maybe join us as we're busy, but at the moment it's 4 who will be presenting on their organizations and telling us what they're doing and also what they're looking for in terms of collaboration opportunities. It's going to be 10 minutes for each presenter. When there's a minute left, I'm going to say, just kind of interrupt and say 1 minute left. And when their time's up, I'm going to totally interrupt and say time is up. And then we're immediately going to the next presenter. Now, for the rest of us in the room, those of us who are not presenting, I want to encourage you to use the chat box. If everyone can just quickly introduce themselves in the chat box, it's always nice to know who's there. And then as the speakers are presenting, you can drop questions or comments in the chat box. I'll direct those at the end towards the specific speakers, but you can use the chat box as an engagement space. It can go wherever it goes. So we'll have our 4 speakers presenting, and then the floor is open. It can be that we're asking questions of them, but it can also be that we're saying, oh, so you shared this, we do something similar, but we're learning X, Y, Z. So it can also just be a chat. It can be anything. The floor is going to be totally open there. But again, all of that will be recorded so that the rest of the COP can also share in the joys of getting to know each other more. I want to ask that everyone mutes. If you have good internet, please switch on your video so that the speakers feel like they're actually talking to people. It makes a difference if you can see them. But if your internet's not good enough, that's also totally fine. And when we get to the end, when we're going to just start chatting, we'll probably do that with raising our electronic hands, and then I'll, give everyone who wants to say something an opportunity. Let me check if that's everything on my list. Yes, it is everything on my list. Now, we have 4 speakers today. I'm not going to say anything about them, but I'm just tell you their names. It's Salim, Ngachika, David, and Kim. I will check for as I see people enter, if more of our presenters that are supposed to speak will join, I'll add them up at the end. But for now, Salim, I'm handing over to you. The floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
It's super, super soft, Salim.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, it's much better. Yes, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lisa, for the introduction and for the opportunity to share about the work that I'm doing. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Salim Charles. As Lisa said, I am a grassroots organizer, a filmmaker, and building trainer. In this call, I'll be sharing about my work at Reemerging New Community. So Reemerging New Communities is a peace building and communication organization based in Nairobi.
Salim, I'm sorry, I'm just interrupting. Can you maybe hold that a bit closer?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
if you can do that all the time, please.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Great. So Reemerging New Communities is a peace building and communication organization based in Nairobi, Kenya. We work in urban slums and rural communities, especially in very deep rural communities in Kenya. And our work is focused on working with children. And so at Reimagine Community, we are committed to promoting, peace, social cohesion, and community resilience. So we conduct trainings, participatory dialogues, and research, and also storytelling. So storytelling is very central to the kind of work that we do with children and teachers and religious leaders. We run 3 key programs within the organization. The first program is called Children-Led Community Peace Labs. And so we engage children in peace education and peace processes to, address root causes of violence within their communities and even conflict. And this could be political violence, violence, and for them to be able to be at the center of, designing solutions for their communities. We also train teachers and youth on conflict transformation and engagement in peace building work under Children and Community Peace Lab. And so for the last 3 years, we have been able to support 55 primary schools across different counties, reaching over 2,000 kids directly, working with them on a weekly basis through this program. We have another program called Faith for Peace program. And with the Faith for Peace, we work with religious leaders and faith communities to foster peace, reconciliation, mediation, but also to engage on issues of GBV, climate change, and other community issues. And so we keep these pastors and religious leaders with skills on interfaith dialogue, conflict transformation, and also just in terms of how do they engage in community processes, and how do they also address issues of GBV within their faith communities. And one of the projects that we are currently doing is conducting a research on creating a safe and secure religious spaces for children, especially when we are talking about issues of GBV and violence against children. We have a program, we also do community dialogues. We conduct a lot of community dialogues, bringing together different stakeholders. And through these community dialogues, we are able to now come up with activities that are informed by data and evidence based on what we get from the community. So we bring different, families, women, children, business people to just talk about the issues within their communities, and also intergenerational dialogue and conversation, especially around issues of peace building and all that. One of the key things that we do at the organization is empowering community-based organization to document their stories. As a communication organization, we train these community organizations and even NGOs to use storytelling, film, and media to amplify the work that they are doing and how to report about their work. So just in terms of doing a lot of the reports for them and all that. And so throughout the work, one of the key lessons that we have learned is that it's very important to be able to build and sustain community-led initiatives, and that is very inclusive, and that can be able to promote community solutions. Because most of the time, when we go to the community, people go to the community, we'll be going with solutions. But for us, we sit the community and stay in the community with the members to design solutions together, and so that they can be able to own that. And so we have learned a very critical lesson in terms of very inclusive and community-led solutions. And also sustainable peace can only be achieved when children are the center of these peace building processes. And these communities and also religious leaders become very, involved actively. Some of the success stories is our children-led community lab has been, like I said, have been very successful. We have seen schools setting up children-led community labs in their schools. We have seen these kids being able to advance issues discussions around climate change, gender-based violence, and just coming up with the messaging within their schools and all that. We have had some even out training going to prisons. These are kids that we have been able to train in school, going to the orphanages to train other kids on these processes. We have seen even the churches that we have supported so far, like 25 churches, coming up with the right policies within their their institutions, especially on issues of violence, issues of safeguarding children and all that. And there's been a lot of exchange program between the faith communities that we work with, but also the schools that we have been supporting. The reason why I joined this community of practice and is, I believe in collaboration. So under the Emerging New Community, it was founded on the basis of, connecting across differences, and collaboration is very key for us because we believe when people come together, they're able to strengthen the work that they are doing and they're able to, work effectively. And so, like I said, we engage with our faith communities. At the moment, we engage with churches and hope to scale it to other religious groups. We incorporate a lot of girls and women voices and children per se in climate justice and peace building initiatives. So, and also our work aligns very well with gender-based violence because as we engage the faith communities, we are addressing issues of gender equality within the faith community, or even with the schools. When we train teachers and kids, we will focus more on gender equality, promotion of gender equality, but also tackling of gender-based violence within church setup and also school setup and community. And like I said, we do working on a research on creating safe spaces for children, including addressing GBV risks within faith communities or faith institutions. So what we are looking for, what we are seeking partnership in, research, to continuous research on GBV prevention within the religious spaces. And of course, media and storytelling. We are hoping that we can be able to, collaborate to amplify community narratives to peace, gender, and climate change. But also those who are interested in faith-based peace building initiatives, we can be able to and see how we can work. So those are the areas that we are hoping that we can be able to collaborate. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Salim. I'm going to ask you if you can post in the chat box how people can reach you. It can be the website of your organization, the email address, whatever you feel comfortable putting in the chat box, please put it there. Also, if you have any links to work that your organization has done, research reports, whatever, please use the chat box for the rest of us so that we can easily access. Then I'm going to immediately hand over to Kim. Kim, are you there?
I am here.
There you are.
And I will share my
okay, I'm keeping my sound until I can tell you if we're seeing it. It's, on my side, it's saying that you're started, and I can see your screen. It's not presentation mode yet, but I'm seeing it.
See if it responds to the buttons. There we go.
And there it is. Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Kim Barker, and I work as a consultant with the Anglican Church, the Anglican Communion Safe Church Commission. So it's a global commission for the Anglican Church worldwide. And I was very interested to hear Salim's work in terms of safeguarding in faith communities, because there already is an overlap. That is our primary focus in terms of our purpose and what we do. Our primary concerns are, first of all, to prevent the harm and abuse of any member of a church community by any person, particularly by any person in a position of leadership or authority within the church. And that is not necessarily a member of clergy. That can be any lay leaders, Sunday school teachers, choir leaders, anybody who has a position of authority within the church. So that is what we focus on. And then also to ensure that if abuse is reported within the church context, that there is an effective, compassionate, and consistent response to those reports. So the Safe Church Commission was set up by the Anglican Consultative Council, which is like a decision-making body for the Anglican Communion in 2016. And the primary task was to develop guidelines to assist primates, bishops, clergy in implementing measures, safe church measures, safeguarding measures within their communities. So just in terms of what is safe church, how do we understand safe church? A lot of overlap with the concept of safeguarding. But first of all, that people feel safe and are safe from abuse and harm when they attend church or participate in any church activities, could be any faith community. And the other is that we who are in the church, who work in the name of the church, are safe people. So we do no harm when we go out and work in communities, in whatever role that takes. So safeguarding is a critical issue for the Anglican Church. It is particularly topical at the moment, with the Archbishop of Canterbury recently having resigned over a safeguarding failure, a really serious safeguarding failure over a number of years. And our role, the way the Anglican Communion works is there isn't power of any central body to require different provinces or dioceses or parishes to do safeguarding work. So a lot of what we need to do is to encourage, to motivate, to convince primates, bishops, clergy to prioritize this work. And at the moment, the time is very ripe, I suppose, whatever, for this work to be prioritized. And so we largely offer support for the effective implementation. So this is the Safe Church Commission that you can see on the screen in front of you. We're a diverse group from different regions of the world, mixture of clergy and laity, mixture of genders, people from the global north, the global south, and it's a very deliberately compiled group to do this work. So we are not working at the coalface necessarily, we're a step back. Our main activities have been, first of all, to develop guidelines for implementing safeguarding processes. These were accepted by ratified by the Anglican Consultative Council in 2019 and have been translated into 8 different languages. And they really expand on what is called the Safe Church Charter. And those 5 points are the basis of the Safe Church Charter. The first 2 are really about effective responses when abuse is disclosed or reported, that there's care and an effective response. The third is to look at developing codes of conduct for people who are in ministry. The fourth is doing careful assessment prior to people being in ministry roles. And the fifth is to generally promote a culture of safety where people see that these issues are taken seriously and addressed effectively and compassionately, and people then feel more comfortable coming forward. Our other role is to develop resources which further unpack these guidelines. So we've developed various print-based resources and also working on a series of films to encourage safeguarding in church communities. And then we offer advice and support. So we collaborate with local teams to organize local, regional, or global capacity development events. And we also support provincial representatives, so people who are scattered across the world in representing the different provinces appointed by their primates to oversee safe church work in their province. So one of our success stories is a recent conference that we held in September 2024 in Bulawayo in Zimbabwe, where we had 227 delegates, 31 bishops, and spouses, representing 28 provinces of the Anglican Communion and 35 countries. And the conference was an incredible opportunity for networking, sharing knowledge, and engaging. But what's been even more exciting has been to hear the stories of where it's gone since the conference. So, for example, there have been safeguarding workshops in parishes across northern India, across Bangladesh. Safeguarding has been a topic for the provincial synods for Cameroon, for Mexico, Jamaica. In Zimbabwe, now every parish and every diocese has a small safeguarding team of at least 3 people, balanced for gender, with gender mix, looking at safeguarding, developing safeguarding practices. In the Solomon Islands, there were workshops for members of religious orders around safeguarding. And AXA, the Anglican Church in Southern Africa, has adopted the code of conduct that we used for the conference for all their events going forward. So it's been very encouraging. I think in work where, I think this came up in one of the previous community of practice networking things, is work where often the numbers seem to go up rather than coming down. And it's can be very soul destroying at times and exhausting, just to see pockets of hope and people doing work that hopefully will prevent abuse from happening in certain contexts, in certain places. I think some of the key lessons that we've learned is to prioritize survivors' voices. This is not always easy to access survivors who have experienced abuse within church or faith community contexts, but we prioritized it in our work, and whenever we meet as a commission, there's always a focus on inviting survivors to be present. There are survivors on the commission as well. Not imposing. I think this has been a really crucial aspect of our work together, is that with many members coming from global north countries where safeguarding and safe church practices have been in place in some contexts for more than 2 decades. A really important thing of not seeing that as best practice, but to really engage with each context and see what will work in terms of safeguarding practices in a particular context. So that's been really important. And what we've also found is the importance of having our materials and our approach being theologically grounded. The development of Bible studies, theological reflections. So we've done a lot of work around that as well. And that, I won't go on to the other slides, but just to say that we are really keen to collaborate in any way around best practice in this area, around events. I was interested listening to Salim, that he's based in Nairobi. I know that there's an East Africa conference around safe church and safeguarding happening in May. So I'd love to contact him and see if there's any possibilities for collaboration. But yeah, any other work around this area, we'd love to share our resources as well, get feedback on those resources in order to improve them and make them more relevant and more helpful. So that's really our work. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kim. I'm going to ask you if you can put your contact info that you're comfortable sharing in the chat box, but also if you can share links to some of those resources. I'm sure there are many of us that are already interested and want to take a look. So go crazy in the chat box, please. I'm going to hand over to David now. David, are you there? Wonderful. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Okay, hello everyone. I warmly greet you all, especially greeting as well to Lisa. Thank you. Let me introduce myself. My name is David Malik. I am the president of International Youth Action Against GBV. Also a general director of Capital Agency here in Niger, one of the first social agency in Niger, expectedly combining community and humanitarian action with profits, created in 2020. So I just returning from the GMAC in Ethiopia, from the African Union Summit. which this week will vote the SVRI, significant step for Africa in terms of GBV. Otherwise, I would have liked it to give you a PowerPoint presentation, at least for the different part of our mobile application. But you asked me some questions, so I'm going to answer quickly. Firstly, the organization I represent today is IAVBG, so International Youth Action Against GBV. It was born around a table bringing together the 10 winners of the hackathon of Stop GBV organized by UN Women and other partners. So this young individual decided to leverage technology to combat gender-based violence, amplify the voice of women and girls in the Sahel and elsewhere in Africa, and facilitate their access, regardless of location, to available support service in their community or region. Through our platform, they can access resources and on sexual, reproductive, and mental health, report abuse online, physical violence, or assault in less than a minute, receive also swift and tangible support. IAVBG is a youth-led initiative uniting 8 countries in West and Central Africa, Mali, Niger, Burkina, and Benin, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon, and Guinea-Conakry. Launched less than a year ago. It's pilot phase in Niger. So for your question about what are your key focus area and key activity, our main area of intervention are combating GBV in all its form, promoting sexual, reproductive, and mental health rights, generating income activity for women, and fostering female leadership to strengthen their presence in decision-making and their active participation in economic development, promoting women in technology and STEM science, technology, engineering, and mathematics for an inclusive, just, and equal world. Beyond this, another fundamental aspect of our work is obtaining real and concrete data on gender-based violence in West and Central Africa through our platform. Some key lessons include providing your about the question you asked, a key lesson learning from your work. I'm gonna say providing your commitment as youth, young people. It's essential to demonstrate our involvement in our community through concrete action, investing in what you believe in. If you care about a cause, also support it financially. Your personal commitment motivates others to join you. So the third is being strategic, build strong partnership, and include all stakeholders, government, organization, political entities, etc., to ensure inclusive and sustainable action. About a major success of our organization, I'm going to say that one of our major success lay in how IVBG, International Youth Action Against VBG, was created. This initiative demonstrates that young Africans can collaborate across borders from a common cause and achieve a tangible result. Another notable success is the smooth implementation of our pilot phase in Niger. We are working in collaboration with the Ministry of Health and Social Affairs, as well as other NGOs and partners, to integrate all our area of action into our digital platform, SheSafe Tambara, who named also FABA. FABA platform in German, it means SOS. I don't know if you understand. So as a president of this youth organization, I firmly believe in the importance of promoting our initiative learning from others, sharing our result and experience so they can benefit other regions. We also collaborate with religious and traditional leaders and are preparing a plan for 2026 to further involve these stakeholders in our action. So what type of collaboration are you looking for? Hoping, okay. We have been active since December 2023 with a team about 25 young individuals across 8 countries, 8 representatives. We are looking for collaboration to strengthen our capacity, training, scholarship, and learning best practice to combat GBV, co-develop project partnership with other organizations to share experience and develop collective solution. And finally, secure funding to scale up our action, improve our application, and expand to more community through fields and digital action. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, David, for sharing. If you can please use the chat box, share your contact detail, any other information about your organization, or maybe some of the outputs it's produced. I'm going to hand over to our last speaker for the day. Nkachika, can you join? Let me check. You are still in the room. Yes. My side, it shows you're still muted. Nkachika, can you hear us? You're our fourth and final speaker. Oh, I wonder now. We did chat before the session started, and we did a tech check and everything. So let me message.
Sorry, my network.
Ah, there you are. Wonderful. Are you able to share your slides with the way your network is currently?
Yes, but I won't put on my.
Okay, do what needs to be done. The floor is yours.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. One minute. I don't know what's going on.
Don't worry. This happens to all of us.
I think I will just speak because I don't know, my network starts misbehaving. It's hanging. I don't know what's going on.
Don't worry. Just tell us. It's fine. We don't need slides. Please.
Okay. Good afternoon, good morning, good wherever you are joining us from. My name is Nkachika Ibe, and I'm joining in from Nigeria. And I'm really happy to be here because the past 3 days have been a mess. Been down with the flu. This is just like a commitment, and I had to, I had to honor this commitment I've already made. So Impact Award Foundation is a non-governmental non-profit organization that is registered in Nigeria. Maybe I should put my screen on, at least now you see my face. I don't know. I don't even know what I look like, but it's fine.
We're seeing you. Or it's not, it's still black on my side.
So we are operational in Nigeria, and our office is located here in Lagos, Nigeria. And yeah, that's me. Okay. So our focus areas majorly is on sexual and reproductive health, addressing gender-based violence, advancing women and security agenda in Nigeria. Also, we look at women empowerment, women and substance and drug abuse issues. These are areas that we cover at large. So within the area of sexual, addressing gender-based violence, there are a few activities that we embark on to this respect. So the first one is what we call the She Needs to Know project. The She Needs to Know project is a training program that we do across secondary schools in Nigeria. And the intent is to educate young girls on the threats, how to identify threats or issues of harassment. Most of them are harassed. They don't even know that the issue is harassment. So how to identify threats of sexual and gender-based violence, issues of what is it called? Abuse, and also how to identify that the environment that they are in is not safe or is unhealthy, how to understand or know certain languages that violence, that triggers violence in one way or the other, or discussions like that. So it's just an educative series that we go around, and it's very enlightening because you find out that most of these young girls partake actually in jokes that might end up, being they become victims of their own jokes. So our goal is to make sure that they know certain words and languages that are being used, especially in such situations. That's the essence of She Needs to Know project. But beyond that, we also do some menstrual education, engage in period poverty, tackling period poverty and all of that, but that's by the way, by the side. Then in the course of our engaging young girls on this, educating them, letting them understand these issues, we identified that there is a very serious, there's like a big, the faith-based organization plays a pivotal role in local communities. We found out that most of these young girls, they find it very, very convenient speaking. They might not really want to talk to you or their parents, but they kind of find it better. They find they are better talking to their peers in their churches. And if they have that very confidence that, okay, they are school, Sunday school teachers and, all those places, they feel safer relating with them. So in the course of our engagement, we decided to, okay, when you relate to these people, what next? So we introduced the Breaking the Silence campaign. And the Breaking the Silence campaign is just very easy. It's just simple. We want to make sure that every schools, religious houses, whether churches, mosques, they have resources, IECs, resources where when these young people come to them to maybe say certain things about what's going on, they have resources that they can contact, they can refer them to, they have it handy, all the organizations and their contact details, police stations and their contact details. This is the essence of breaking the silence, because it's one thing to report, it's another thing to escalate. And most times, certain issues of gender-based violence end within the area of reporting. It doesn't go from there, it doesn't move forward. And most times because, informed consents are not there and, there's a whole lot of things around there, but the access or ability to have those resources handy plays a pivotal role. Sorry, sorry. Oh, Jesus, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry. So it plays a pivotal role in their ability to address these issues at that point. Now, apart from the Breaking the Silence project that we are doing, we also have what we call the Project SAFE. Project SAFE is a project that we were working in partnership with an organization, actually a tech-based organization. And the idea is post-COVID, we were looking at what are the most effective ways of, providing kind of real-time response to gender survivors and victims. So then we looked into developing like an AI-powered response, looking at even leveraging WhatsApp chatbots and USSD codes for people who don't have access to internet or smartphones. So we are looking at all of this, and the idea is to build an effective response channel across board. Now, the idea is to bring the NGOs involved, the religious leaders, Nigerian police involved, just building a stakeholder, like a chain, like a value chain around the issue of gender-based violence, so that there will be a flow of information that helps in addressing it as fast as possible. And why the Project SAFE succeeded we are still within the area of trying to, test it and move on and all of that. And also we have a very recent project, tech facilitated gender-based violence, which we'll be having a workshop on it on Friday. And it's kind of a project by an organization in the US, but the idea is focusing on addressing image-based violence. The workshop is around developing, also an AI-powered response to addressing image-based violence. However, we didn't start off trying to address gender-based violence through faith-based. So, but in the course of our activities, we realized, under lesson learned, we realized that poverty plays a very huge role in issues of gender-based violence. The church, the mosques, faith-based organizations are very crucial, especially from the community where I operate from. They play a very crucial role in advancing or otherwise gender-based violence. And so that was why I joined the COP. When I saw the networking, the COP's email, I'm like, yeah, this is exactly where I'm thinking of, because we need to start talking about how to engage religious leaders. And listening to the presentation, especially by Kim, this is one of the reasons, best practices, things that have worked in other places, how can we bring it down to Nigeria? How can we replicate them here? How can we make them work in our churches? Because Nigerians are very religious people, and they trust their religious leaders more than they trust organizations. In fact, we've had cases where they are being discouraged on going to organizations, because some people will tell you, oh, you want to use me and get grants. You want to use my story and shine. Very weird narratives out there, but they are very comfortable going to their mommy GOs and their pastors' wives and everything. So how can we as an organization now work together? Because most of these churches, they don't have best practices. They don't really know how to engage. They only might give them a chapter in the Bible to go and meditate on, and then they go back. It doesn't end the issue. So how do we ensure that these churches and these religious bodies are actually, they are well informed on how to, how to address these issues when they are brought to them? And that is where our organization is looking forward to moving into that space, right? So that is one of the reasons.
Chica, you have 1 minute.
Really? I'm the only person that was cautioned. Okay, so
don't stress.
Sorry. Okay, so that's basically it. And that collaboration is we're looking forward to a programming for and with faith-based organization in advancing such issues here, and also research, because we believe in collaborative research that will look at, we sometimes try to think that we know the issues, but it is always very important to look at what has already been done, practical initiative, and what are the gaps, and how does our programming fills the gaps. So research is also an aspect that we would love to collaborate with any organization building a proposal that to address such issues around. It's a whole lot of things, but it's fine. Thank you very much. I appreciate Lisa.
Thank you so much. Okay, everyone, we're at the end of our assigned speakers, and we're going to open the floor now. I just want to flag that Salim had to leave because of a previous engagement. So if you have a question specifically for him, if you can post it in the chat box, plus your contact information, and I'll make sure that it gets to him and that he reaches out to you. But Kim and David and Ngachika are here in the room. So I'm super awkward if we open for questions and no one asks questions. So then I start babbling uncomfortably, or I make up questions or things like that. But I am not going to do it today. I'm going to sit in the awkwardness of silence so that the space can be open for anything that you want to ask the speakers, but also you can contribute, share from your own organizations what you've been experiencing. So if you can just raise your electronic hand, it will flag it here on my side, and I'll hand over to you. I'll also check here in the chat box. Ruby Ann has asked if there's anyone implementing anti-GBV interventions and or equality promotion and social inclusion interventions in the higher education or university context. So you can, if you are, please respond in the chat box or you can raise your hand. But I see Musa has raised their hand, so please, Musa. If your internet's good enough, it'd be lovely if you can put your video on, but if not, that's also fine.
Yeah, let me try it and see whether it works.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hi, Musa. We can hear you and we can see you.
All right. That's great. Well, thank you. I'm really happy to be here. I'm happy to be part of this great platform because I have really seen the importance of being here. And I just want to hasten up to say thanks to the speakers for their great presentations and the work that they are doing. It's really, really really impactful. Well, my name is Musa Kone. I'm from Sierra Leone, West Africa. I'm a founder of Movement for Education and Advocacy Network. We also work with a network of young leaders here in Sierra Leone who are also devoted to ensure that they empower the young people with the skills, knowledge, and potential so that they can able to reach their fullest potential as well in society. So meeting other young people here today with the great work that they are doing, I think it's something that really blew my mind and really inspiring. I really I'm happy with King's presentation. The things that she just highlighted are really, really key because I have not really come across other religious groups here in Sierra Leone that do such work. So like for her taking up that particular venture to go down there to the people so that they can understand about life, I think is really key. So I just want to ask, how do they go about their collaboration with other organizations? If there are criteria that an organization need to follow, or maybe an individual, how can you go about it for like a collaboration? So it's be the same question for David as well. Of course, Salim is not here again, but it should just be like the same question for them. Well, with the lady from Nigeria. I don't know how to pronounce the name. I'm really sorry. You are doing a perfect job, and like today, seeing Graham and also her doing this presentation, it's a dream come true for me because like I'm a very passionate person about women empowerment, and seeing women taking the lead in helping other people, especially creating a better impact in societies, always make me feel like, yes, I'm getting there. So like, I'm really, really happy, and I would really love to see how we can collaborate together because we are in Africa together. We have the answer in our hand if only we attempt to work together so we can get there. So so far so good. I'm really looking forward to see how we can collaborate because the people that she's working with, I'm working with people who are really like in that type of like who have been having serious safeguarding issues because I'm working with young mothers and expectant, and those young mothers and expectant are people who society have totally marginalized because of their status of being pregnant without out of marriage. So like as for us here in religious dominated area, especially like the Muslims, these are things that people see as a taboo. So to bridge that gap between the families and the girls is also something that is really, really difficult. And most of the pregnancies are coming from those safeguarding issues that are being breached. So like the programs that she's running, like Break the Silence and other things, these are really key things that I also really want to collaborate with her and also learn and see how we can share our best practices and how we can exchange idea from Nigeria to Sierra Leone, from Sierra Leone to Uganda, to any part of the world, so we can see exactly how things work. So I'm really happy. One thing I'm happy about the COP here, I have really learned a lot of things here, because one of the things that has been a key takeaway here has been like the collaboration, learning how to really engage like stakeholders, especially the religious leaders, how we can also bring them in our activities to ensure that we really achieve. That was when we attended the other sections. I learned a lot of things from the presentations and other key things. So I have been using that particular takeaway, and it has helped me greatly. The lady, sorry, Iba from Nigeria. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the other name. She was really.
You're forgiven. You're forgiven for not knowing how to pronounce my name.
I'm really sorry for that. But you measure some key things as far as the religious aspect is concerned. Most people they have that great thing for their religious leaders. So in our family tracing and reunification program, it has been really, really difficult, because to reunify girls back with their family, especially girls who have been driven from home, has been really difficult. Of course, we have made a lot of success in that, but it has been really key challenging. But when I joined this particular team, based on the things that I've learned, I have been using that now to really bring in most of the religious leader in the communities where I went for my reunification and family mediation program. I now work with them. I bring them to the house. So when the parents see them, like if a man see his or her imam coming from the mosque to come and talk to her or maybe to him, they will just say, okay, we have accepted. So I have been using that particular thing to really reunify a lot of girls home. So this is really great. I'm happy to be here, and I'm open up to collaborate with all the team members here, so we can see how we can achieve our
Thank you,
goal.
Musa.
Yeah.
Musa, if you haven't yet done so, please add your contact information in the chat box. But I also want to flag maybe to the three of our speakers that are here, so Kim and David and Kachika. Musa's question at the start, like, are there any, and I'm paraphrasing, but do you have any requirements for organizations that you collaborate with? And you can go in any order. Josephine, I'm seeing your hand. I'll come to you next. But if the speakers can just quickly respond, any requirements around collaboration, please.
Well, let me go first. So the Safe Church Commission are all volunteers, all 17 members. I'm the only person who works for the commission, and I work on a part-time basis. So capacity is the only limitation. So the best thing is that when we're working in a particular area or region, to be in contact with people who are already there and to collaborate. And to collaborate around the resources that we're developing. I think sharing resources and sharing ideas around those, I'm always open to that. So we don't really have capacity for collaboration on big projects at this stage, but in conversations in smaller ways.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, we are always very much open to collaborations as an organization, especially, we look at, for instance, around the Breaking the Silence project. We can collaborate in programmings and, virtual stakeholder engagements, or, activities like this that could, be done maybe currently virtually before we might even move down to maybe physical events. So we always have webinars. Also, I forgot to put that out. We always have webinars. We have, stakeholder engagement programs. These are areas that we can also collaborate in, and also research, like I said initially. So programming around that area are fine. And then from little, we can grow. The partnership and collaborations can grow and develop into something even much bigger than we are, much bigger. So we are always very open to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
Yeah. But thank you, Musa. So the International Youth Action Against GBV, we are primarily an organization of organizations And to join our project is as simple as saying, I received Jesus, and you become a Christian. Okay, so, but beyond that, you can join if there is no representation in your country, and be the first. For an example, as Musa said, he's in Sierra Leone. At the moment, we do not have representative there. So this is the same thing I'm gonna say, but it's also important to know that we are very free for collaboration. If you have some activity, something to do, we will be there with you and assist or participate to achieve that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. I'm Josephine. Thank you so much for waiting so patiently. Your hand's been up almost from the start. And Mary, I see yours. You'll be next in line. But for now, Josephine, you have a question or something you want to add? Please do so.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. I just want to say I became very interested in the COP as it concerns gender-based violence and faith-based organizations. So I came in and I met the lady doing the presentation. I think she's from Nigeria, I guess. So I wrote on the chat box, I want to, because I'm calling from Nigeria too, I want to know where she's based, so we can have a further collaboration and see how we can work with them to also strengthen faith-based organizations over where I am on the issues around gender-based violence, because we have a lot of women going through that, and even men, and it's a taboo to talk about it. We want people to be open so that they can get help even around their mental health while still walking around their faith. Thank you.
Thank you, Josephine. Can I answer, Lisa? Oh, okay. Thank you, Josephine. So I'm currently in Lagos, Nigeria, and I'm very open to more collaborations. I just dropped my number on the chat box. You see the +234 906694 blah blah. It's just there. So you can just chat me up and we'll take it from there, definitely. Yeah. And thank you for your kind words. Lisa, you're muted. You're mute.
So weird. It showed that I'm unmuted on my side, but clearly not. Josephine, it is finally your turn. Please speak profound words now. Josephine, I can't hear you, but it's not showing you as muted, and I can see you speaking, but I can't hear you.
Hi. Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Oh,
there you
my.
are.
I think they are my earphones, right? Sorry, I've removed them. So I want to say this has been an interesting conversation with the panelists and everyone. We always get great information from these discussions, and I'm so grateful to connect with everyone. One of the interesting conversation is with Kim Baker, and I hope she's just around. She's not left. Yeah, I can see her. So my question goes to her. If she can clarify whether her organization is working as an independent oversight body in the Anglican Church concerning abuse, and if it is not, or if it is working as an independent oversight body, then what is our advice concerning abuse in religious spaces? Should there be organizations working as oversight bodies outside the church authority structures? And number two, how does church discipline processes interact with legal proceedings in religious spaces? because from the start I said my interest is in religious spaces and abuse, and I always connect with such discussions because that is where silence has been practiced, authority has been practiced, and power structures taking place. And I believe the conversations are taking us to a place of curbing abuse at the end of the day. So I would request if Kim would probably answer and just give her advice concerning the same. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so first of all, no, we are not an independent oversight body. We are very much located within the Anglican Communion, and we have no power as such. So we don't conduct investigations, we don't get involved in cases as such. That is left to the individual provinces and dioceses to manage. We are really more about encouraging the implementation of effective measures. So we might provide support or guidance or advice in particular situations where perhaps a bishop isn't sure how to proceed. So we might provide advice, but we don't get directly involved. I know that in the Church of England, there's been a recent independent investigation into safeguarding practices within the Church of England, and the recommendation has been made that there be an independent oversight body that almost manages all of safeguarding for the church. And that's currently under discussion, in fact, I think this week at their synod in the Church of England. I think there are pros and cons. I think it's a very big discussion, a very big conversation, which the bishops in England are discussing at the moment. There's not been a similar recommendation made for the Anglican Church in any other parts of the world yet. I certainly think that there are pluses and benefits to having independent oversight and accountability. I think accountability practices are really important at all levels of safeguarding, whether it's at parish level or globally. So building in some system of accountability, I think, would be really important. How that happens, I'm not too sure who those bodies would be. I'm not too sure. I think it might need to work on a country-by-country basis, or a province-by-province basis in the Anglican Church. But kind of at the moment, the focus is on what is the Church of England going to do, and that might give some insight to other places, although everywhere is different. Your other question, which has just popped out of my mind, and you're on mute, Josephine.
Yeah, thank you. The other question was, how do church discipline processes interact with legal proceedings? Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the canon laws in a particular province, exactly how that proceeds. But they usually can happen in parallel. But certainly once there's been a criminal conviction, it's much easier to, roll out the canon law process. But it depends on the context. I don't know much about canon law at all, so I'm not an expert on that. But I do know that they can happen in parallel. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Kim and Josephine. I'm gonna ask Noor if you can unmute yourself. For some other reason, Zoom's not allowing him to raise his hand. But Noor,
Thank you so
please.
much, Lisa. I'm a child rights practitioner as well and activist as well. I'm Nurur Rahman, regional coordinator for South Asia, working currently with Joint Learning Initiative on Faith and Local Communities as a regional coordinator for South Asia. Currently, we are working on two of the initiative. One is Faith and Positive Change for Children, Families, and Communities, a cross-sectorial initiative where we actually establish multi-faith action committees comprising of faith leaders, faith-based organization within all currently in 5 countries: Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, and Nepal. But my main focus is like we are working with the religious leaders, especially with the Muslim ethnicity, which I am talking about. Like we have so many madrasas. Like yesterday, I was watching a news on television that like a boy, like it was sexually abused. He was sexually abused by one of the religious leader in the madrasa. Madrasa is a school institution of religious Muslim school of thought. I was like just to probe in that like how we can collaborate with SVRI here in South Asia for to make this the safeguarding and policies ensure within the religious school of thoughts, so schools or institutions, and how JLI can contribute towards this initiative, like in specifically which I'm talking about the South Asia and the countries which include Pakistan and Afghanistan. Why? Because like there are so many cases on GBV. We have laws over here. We have social protection mechanism. UNICEF is working enormously. Like they are doing good, but like from the faith perspective of GBV, like I'm currently working on evidence brief of faith, gender, and immunization for the specifically for like to for the polio eradication program in Pakistan and Afghanistan. But how we can collaborate with these religious schools or institutions to promote the safeguarding policies and procedures, and how it could be a joint venture between the both organizations as well.
Thank you, Noor. I've been thinking so many things while you were speaking. I think the first thing that I want to flag is and not only to you, Noor, I think also to where our conversation has gone a lot, you know, because we have been discussing a lot today around child protection and safeguarding. Working group 2 of the community of practice has an explicit focus around child violence against children. The short course, the 10-week virtual short course that will start soon, is around guiding faith leaders of different faiths, kind of along this pathway of not only thinking about and acknowledging violence against children, but also how to respond as institutions of faith. If I remember correctly, the policy brief that will be produced by this working group is actually very concretely to give tips and guidance for faith actors, so faith leaders, actually, different faiths. But if you have the policy, because I think increasingly there are policy, but in practice, what does this mean in my faith space? How do we implement it? There's almost that disconnect, I think, sometimes between policy and practice. And a policy brief will be focused around how to bridge that. So I think that's very relevant, specifically in terms of the COP's outputs. SVRI generally, and I can't speak for all of SVRI, has a massive focus around child violence. I'm thinking now of the Safe Futures Hub that is co-hosted by SVRI. So please reach out to me in terms of that. But I also want to encourage Noor, if you can put your contact details in the chat, that those attending, if your organizations are working in these kinds of spaces, because I think also maybe I'm hearing things that you're not saying, Noor, but there's also like if you're doing this, how are you doing this? Can we learn from each other kinds of questions? So please reach out to Noor. And Noor, if you can maybe also post a link for JLI for those who don't know about the Joint Learning Initiative, because I think that's a great resource for all of us in the room. I'm going to hand over to Mary. Your hand's up.
Okay.
Mary?
Okay. Thank you, Lisa. I just wanted if the Project Safe people from the Anglican Communion, if they can actually give more insight into some of those services they offer as a faith-based organization when gender-based violence is especially sexual and gender-based violence. I know that there's maybe a little bit different from the other faith-based, like the Catholic faith-based and all that. So I want to just a brief explanation. It could help me to also know how to navigate through based on the different and do I say teachings or doctrines according to those like the difference between the Anglican communion and that of the Catholic and all that. So I just want to get 1 or 2 lessons learned, especially when it comes to giving services to sexual gender-based violence, like medical services. What are those services they give? And how do they navigate through in case there is a need for like a legal process? I don't know if I'm able to come
No,
across.
that's clear. Mary, I just want to flag to you and to everyone in the room, Kim has to leave in 2 minutes in order to be on time for a flight. So this will now be profound, Kim, if you can give us an overview within your institution structures, please.
I think, Mary, the one thing is that there is not a global answer to this, because I think the Anglican Church works at provincial and diocesan level wherever it finds itself. And so the work that they would be doing would be different in different places. And it's often through the Mothers Union of the Anglican Church, which is the women's organization. So often that kind of gender-based violence work happens through the Mothers Union. What I'm going to do, though, is put in the chat contact details for Mandy Marshall, who is the director of gender justice for the Anglican Communion worldwide, and she would be able to connect you in to what is happening in various places. So that I can do before I head on my way.
Thank you so much, Kim, and safe travels. And everyone, if you still have questions or things you want to discuss with Kim, please scroll up in the chat. She did share her contact info. So please make use of that. I'm sure she'll respond once her plane lands. Okay, there are no hands raised, but there's still time for if anyone has something they want to add or discuss or flag.
Probably for them that have interacted with religious leaders so far, if they can share, what is the response of our religious leaders as far as gender-based violence is concerned in their spaces, probably because that has been engaged with by several leaders. If they can tell us the response, how far, so far, how is the clergy responding to GBV in religious spaces? Thank you.
So as you were asking that, Josephine Muchanyara Mukamuri raised their hand. So now I'm assuming that's because you have an answer. So Muchanyara, apologies if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. Do you have a response to Josephine's question?
Yes, hello everyone. Yes, I have a response to Josephine's question. Here in Zimbabwe, we have what we call the Gender and Faith Network, which is a side-by-side chapter, Zimbabwe chapter, where we also work together with religious leaders and organizations that are affiliated there. So because we realize that Zimbabwe is a Christian country, most people go to church. So our programming around gender-based violence and child marriages, we had to rope in religious leaders, particularly from the Christian denominations, where we work together so that even their sermons are supposed to be denouncing child marriages, including but not limited to even child marriages and abuse of women and children. So we work together as a team, and we work together also to ensure that There are some Christian denominations that abuse religion through marrying young girls. This had been quite a very worrisome issue that has been happening in Zimbabwe, where a girl of 9, 11, or below 13 were married off to the very old men. And for that matter, they are the apostolic section who don't even go to hospitals, or they don't allow their children to go to school. So we had to work together to break those biases and to ensure even the law enforcement had to be roped in to it. And then now there is a law that has been passed that speaks to age for consent for sex being 18, the same as age for consent for marriage. So we were working with the religious leaders to share this kind of information so that we reduce child marriages, we also reduce gender-based violence. And during the 16 days of activism, we actually commemorate together with churches. And each year, even as we commemorate the International Women's Day, we also rope in religious leaders so that we also commemorate this day with the women from the Christian background. Thank you, and over. By the way, you pronounced my name the correct way. It's all right as it is.
I'm glad. Thank you so much for that response. Anyone else want to reply to Josephine's
Yes.
question? Yes, please go ahead.
I am Chinur from Kurdistan, Iraq, Suleimania City. Like for us, we had previously a network called Women Support Group. It was belonged to the UN, but it is deactivated, honestly, since I can say 2015. But like locally, we have Women Kurdish Alliance Network who are working on the multiple cases like media violence cases, honor killing cases, and any discrimination, or like we are also criticizing religious men who are giving speech in the via mosques in the like Friday. We call it khutbah, like blaming female and discriminating females, right? So creating conflicts among the family members, as well as we are criticizing legislation issues. And later on, maybe you have heard like amendment of law 188 for 1959, which is like allowing female from the age of 9 to marry. But we have held a network for the entire Iraq. It was like the countrywide network to stop against this amendment. So I think it is standing by, never be implemented due to the influence makers by the women network groups. But unfortunately, like for the entire country, the efforts are not unified in a proper manner. Like KRG, we are working alone, and like a country working alone. But in some occasions, we all meet because there is a gap of like an agency to unify all the efforts together. Previously, UNFPA was doing gender GBV working group meeting, but not inviting everyone, just inviting the local organization, not like activate, not inviting academics. In the universities, we have efforts, but unfortunately, there are gender centers which are running by, like, I know they are professor or deputy of professor, or they are like in the high academic level, but they don't have like practical experience in the gender issues, just theory and like seminars in the closed halls, like less integration to the communities. This is our problem. But for Kurdish Women Alliance Network, many of active NGOs are activists, but unfortunately we are facing lack of budget and lack of donation, and like in front of beside the social and challenges are enormous, and like Islamic groups are going forward because they have a huge amount of money. They are paying to the youth group, they are paying to the religious men in order to stop against this, feminism or gender issues. In Iraq, the concept of gender is prohibited. They have announced an official paper, it should be changed to equality. But for KRG, we are lucky, we don't have this prohibition because the situation is better than south of middle of Iraq, unfortunately, because many of ethnic and religious minorities are available in south and middle of Iraq. But for Kurdistan region, we are a little bit forward because we have started with the civil society organization before Iraq. As you are aware, in 1991, after Kurdish uprisal, and then we have started, first organization has started, it was women independent organization. It was belong to the communist groups. So I was a member in that organization, and with the other association belong the political parties. We had unified efforts, but the gender and equality movement has been affected by the internal conflict in 97. And anyway, I think I went to the more detail, but when I think in one of the meetings, I need a time to talk about Iraq and Kurdistan region entirely, because we have a lot of concerns, and we have honor killing cases, we have media discrimination, we have economic discrimination, we have multiple, unfortunately, miserabilities and vulnerabilities. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. And maybe I want to connect to what you just now said. So in April, we're going to, and I'm saying this to everyone, in April, we're going to have another set of these networking events. So please sign up for those, for one of those sessions, and that we can hear more specifically. Yeah,
sure.
Please.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for responding. Everyone, I'm going to draw this meeting to a close. I want to say thank you so much to our 4 speakers. Only 2 are left in the room because of other obligations. But Salim, Kim, David, and Kachika, I mean, clearly you inspired lively discussion and engagement. And if I look at the chat and what was said, I'm very sure that there will come some collaboration, at least some collaborations from the session, which makes me really excited. I'm so glad about that. I'm going to remind you that the recordings of all 3 networking events will be shared with you, the links to the recordings. So please look out for an email from me maybe towards the end of this week. And thank you so much. Thank you everyone for making the time to be here today. It was lovely, and I'll see you again. Oh, and the last thing is, please remember our next COP-wide event, which will be in 2 weeks' time on the 26th of February. It's a Wednesday, and that's on how to engage faith actors in survivor-led ways around child violence. So I really want to encourage you to join that 1-hour session. Thank you, everyone, and we'll be in contact. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, dears.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you next.
Thank you, Lisa. Bye.